Let's hit it. All right, 3, 2, 1. Preparing live stream. We are live. Hello, brothers. Welcome to this masterclass on receiving the dark masculine. I'm Jason Blewett, founder of Primal Man Project, for those who might be new to the space and watching for the first time. And this is my beautiful partner, Emma.
Hi.
So tonight, as promised, what we are going to be delivering, what we're going to be sharing on are the secrets of the feminine, nothing less. These are the promises from tonight's session. We are going to be exploring from the feminine perspective how to provide what a woman needs to surrender into your leadership as a man. We're going to be sharing the practical things that you can do to support and lead a woman into her feelings and out of conflict. And we're going to be exploring the ways that we can, as men, create a deeper sense of safety for our women and lead them into an experience of their pleasure and the intimacy that we can create. So the first question to ask is why? Like, why are we doing this? Why is this necessary? Why is this important? And for those uninitiated into this idea of the dark masculine, why are we doing this? In the Primal Man Project, for those who might be new to this idea, we teach about this idea called the dark masculine, which are the instincts and the desires that a man has that society might consider wrong, taboo, or undesirable. It's part of the work that we teach. And the challenge that we experience when we teach it is that men power up, and it invites a man into a sense of leadership in his relationship. But a challenge that we often hear from the men are, how do I lead my woman who might be resisting this leadership? How do I support her in receiving my leadership? How do I alleviate the conflict that can come as a man powers up and a woman might still be in some of the power or control that might have been there in the relationship? So why I've invited Emma tonight is it's all well and good for me to share. It's all very good for me to share about the strategies and the practices and the ways of being. But unless we have an appreciation of how it's received on the other side, it's really only a one-way conversation. So I thought it was a really powerful opportunity for us to bring in my queen and have her share her wisdom. And I want to share a little bit about Emma and why it is that I feel like she has a really powerful place to speak from. Emma is a embodiment and somatic therapist embodiment coach and somatic therapist by training. But her experience has been working with hundreds, even thousands of women over the last 10 years in her work as an embodiment coach. She teaches in the area of sensuality, in pleasure, and now has really developed a practice to support women's coaches. So what that means is she sits with an overview over an incredible number of women with a lot of experience with what works and what doesn't in relationship, but also in a feminine experience of herself. So yeah, I want to wish you welcome, my love. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
This is really cool. This is really cool for both of us. The first time experience for us to have a woman in the space and Primal Man Project community. So yeah, it's an honor to have you. I would love for you to share right from the outset what the dark masculine means to you and what it's represented in our journey together.
May I quickly just say hello and see everyone?
Yeah.
I'm just like, I just haven't seen everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I want to see your faces.
Yeah.
And the next one?
Yeah.
Oh, look. Hi. Oh, I'm so happy to be here. Hi. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Oh, that feminine creating chaos. What does the dark masculine mean to me in receiving that from a man? Prior to our relationship, when I first started connecting to myself, it was something that I craved, but I didn't understand that it was the dark masculine. It was like I craved this sense of security, certainty, safety, darkness. So prior to really being in relationship to you and a little bit prior, I didn't understand that the concept, even the dark masculine, was a thing. It was just this knowing that there was something there that I knew would provide me a sense of safety to fully let go. And even that concept to me of letting go was far reached. It was just this, there was this space that I craved. And then since meeting you and a little bit prior of exploring these archetypes in myself and also in the world, but what it means to me is truth. It's like the full truth. And it's like, for me, I'm able to let go to a sense where I can feel that you're all here, like the shadows, the dark, the desires, then I can really trust that I know you and who I'm letting go to. So to me, it's truth and trust.
Love that. My experience on the polarity of what Emma's sharing now is that in my relationships before Emma, I always had a sense of shame, and I always had a sense of a part of me wasn't welcome and I had to hide it away, and it wasn't brought out, it wasn't shared, and it wasn't explored in a way that had me feel like that part of me was valid. There was always a sense of the part of me being wrong. And what it meant for me was that I would use porn, and I'd been unfaithful in relationships, and I was leaky in my energy, and I had done things that ultimately were about me finding ways to be received and finding ways for that shadow and that darkness to be explored. And since stepping into this work and creating a space together, so much more of me has been online, so much more of me has been welcome. And we've learned a lot in the last 12 months, exploring this through the different dark masculine archetypes, how to be polarized. So being in a relationship where it's accepted and it's agreed that I'm in the leadership role, and it's my role to be worthy of the leadership role. And Emma has chosen to be in receiving of that leadership. So what we want to be sharing on tonight is how to support, if it is something that you want. It has to be a willing journey. It can't be something that's forced. But if it's something that's chosen by both partners, especially for the men who've taken the work and the journey through the 3-day retreat and learn about the dark masculine, how do you support your women in receiving this leadership and in a practical way deal with some of the challenges that we experience and troubleshooting? So yeah, let's dive in. We're going to in tonight's call explore around these 3 key themes of leadership and leadership between the masculine and the feminine, and then conflict resolution and how we can support each other in resolving those, and then explore around this amazing area of sexuality and intimacy. And we're going to have some space for questions, and we've already got a few questions that we've taken from the men prior to the call. So I'd love to jump in. Is there anything else you want to share about that before we jump in? No? Amazing. Okay. The first question we had was from a brother who's done this work, and he asks, I find my partner challenges my leadership, even though she says she wants me to lead her. What could be causing this?
So may I share as I go into this space of sharing for the feminine? And there's absolutely a degree of women that I have facilitated and explored and been in conversation with and been in this space with, based around feminine needs, desires, safety, security. There's a deep knowing, but also there's a humanity that I want to provide and be like, look, this is just my experience, and also the women that I've worked with and what I've gained. But yeah, just like the humanity of like I'm going to answer all of these, and like there's definitely a deep truth, and also there's going to be so many nuances, because the delicacy of this topic to me on my heart is really important, that when it comes to dominant submission, just to surrender in the feminine, receiving the dark masculine, it is such a delicate topic. So yeah, just bringing the delicacy, and there is so many nuances, but I'm here. All right.
Yeah. So my partner challenges me, even though she says, oh, I want you to lead. She's open to my leadership, but she challenges my leadership anyway. What might be causing this?
So for me and for the feminine, even if there's a desire to surrender, it doesn't mean there's not going to be resistance. It doesn't mean that there's not going to be pushback or a sense of fear that happens. And what if a woman is stating that she desires to surrender, that would be the truth. But the experience that she's having is that she's in resistance, which is the part of the surrender, right? It's like when we heal something, it's like the polarity also exists. So when there's a deep surrender and a desire for a woman to actually surrender, the feminine, it's going to bring up the things that actually have had her in resistance and fear of the masculine. So it's the understanding that it is a part of literally surrendering. So it's I wouldn't say it's necessarily something is causing it, but it's the understanding that it's a part of the journey. And then how do we actually be with the feminine so that they understand that that's also okay and loved and supported and provided for, rather than, be like, you're surrendering if you're pretty, but your ugly parts, that is not surrender. Right? It's like usually but it's what would be causing it is fear of letting go, fear of being abandoned, fear of what can happen, fear of essentially when a woman is surrendering, she's dissolving. So she's dissolving into your leadership, which means into you. So there's a fear around what will happen to me if I fully let go. And will I be caught? And will I be safe? And will I be, fear.
Mm. So what are some tangible things that a man can do that can support a woman who might be experiencing that resistance?
So to ask questions based around what are you feeling, like acknowledging the resistance and leading a woman to know that you can see it. When you share with me when I'm in resistance, like, what are you feeling? I'm like, oh, scared or fear. It's like it brings me into a sense of feeling that you can take me beyond it as well. So asking me the questions, what am I feeling? Also reassurance. So when you express to me, firstly, when you ask me what I'm feeling and have me feel emotionally held, and also when you reassure me, if I'm scared, you're like, I've got you, you're safe. It straight away creates a sense of like a deep exhale, or I'm not going anywhere, or I've got you. Yeah.
So what I'm also hearing in that is an acknowledgement that experience and that feeling is welcome.
Yeah.
So it's okay to be in resistance, and it's okay what you're feeling, and validating and reassuring that that's something that's supported. Yeah.
And it's a part of it.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear some feedback from the men who are here on the call. Put your comments in the chat. What's resonating for you so far? Things that you've seen in your own partnerships, be they current partnerships or previous. What can you see that you may have missed? Or what can you see that you did really well in providing that safety, providing that container? And what's resonating for you so far? I'd love to hear. So as we get that feedback and the men contribute here, I'd love to ask you another question. And this goes to me to the whole premise and the whole concept that we're advocating and that we're living is this idea that a man is in a role of leadership. And I think it's fair to say, I think there'd be a fairly good consensus around this. There's a lot of narrative about 50-50. Men and women are 50-50. We're equal. There's no leader. Everybody's independent. Everybody's needs to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. Why is it that relationships shouldn't be based on that 50-50? Why is it that you feel from a feminine perspective that having a masculine leader in our relationship is what serves?
Oh my gosh, my heart. Yes. Acknowledge and welcome the resistance. This is a game changer. Game changer. Sorry.
Good, baby. It's good.
So since deepening, especially in the feminine communication and the deepening that you and I have had, something that I've had to heal so deeply in myself is the realization that it's not less is less and more. It's that what I'm bringing into the relationship is completely different to what you're providing. And so 50-50 in leadership. Yeah, but no, okay, it doesn't say leadership. Yeah, 50-50 in men. It's what I've realized is actually we're both 100%. And my self-worth is here and online, and your self-worth is here and online, and our roles and the experience of the relationship are different. So yeah, that's been a real game changer for me, that realizing that my feminine self-worth, I contribute nourishment to the home, and the ecstasy that you can see in me when you provide provision and pleasure and mystery. And yeah, there's a different sense of what I provide that you provide. So I see it as we are 50-50, but the roles are completely different. We're both providing a different experience to the relationship that is equal worthy.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that roles are different, but the worth doesn't change. The worth is we each value ourselves and we each value each other. So what we're advocating for is not one person being more worthy or more important, but that each has a chosen role. And that in chosen role of the leadership role for the masculine, there's also a chosen role of submission. If that's the configuration of relationship that, people are desiring. So yeah, I love that. So great comments here from.
Why should leading in relationship be not be split? Oh, leading in relationship. I'll say that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I don't want to lead. No, because.
Why don't you want to lead?
Because it's overwhelming we go through every day is different hormonally for a woman. And to be in the mind every day is like, it disconnects us from our core. And for me, when I lead, I'm in my mind, and there's nothing wrong with it, but it's just that it doesn't feel true to my feminine core that I just desire to dissolve into more leadership. No way, no 50-50.
No, okay, good.
But there's a lot of healing that comes through in that, for sure, that has to take place.
Okay, so that's an important point. There needs to be healing in order for a woman to let go of control and let go of the things that she may be operating from that look like and operate as leadership. What's been your journey with that, and what's your experience when you see women on that journey?
Oh my gosh, it's so scary. It's genuinely scary. There's a lot of fear, and this is speaking from judgment, but it has been the experience I've experienced a lot of fear in it, because there's so many stories that we as women have been told that our self-worth resides in how much we can get done. And also our individuality is what has us feel safe, because we know we can't be abandoned. So for me, the more that I dissolve into your provision and your leadership, it's the fear has been around like losing the individual vision I have in creating for my sovereign self and dissolving into where you're taking us. And in every way, like when you lead me into eating foods that I would never eat, it's every day in most minutes. The fear, but also the ecstasy, pure ecstasy to feel that safe, that even foods that you've created a story around, you can be led past. So ecstatic and the fear.
There's something that you often speak about, and I've heard you say a lot, which is to lead you beyond yourself. Love you to share about what that means, because I think it captures a lot of, what relates to the vision the masculine provides, and how a woman might be more receptive of leadership with that vision. Yeah.
So for me, if I understand that, and this is to me the dynamic of a man's a leader and the woman is submitting or surrendering into that leadership, to me it's a committed relationship of masculine feminine polarity. But when you provide me with the vision, it's like I know what I'm surrendering into. It's like having this clear space of, even if we first started dating, you're like, I can see in months, I can see when you feel this, that you'll be moving here. I'd be like, whoa, I'm surrendering to this man that can see that we are beyond this moment together. And so it's like, it has me feel like there's reason, like it's this devotion for me to let go too, tangibly. It creates a tangible container to be like, I'm submitting. But if that's not there, the inner vision isn't understood for the man and what he sees for the relationship and the woman. There's not this sense of clarity in what am I letting go to.
So it's when you surrender, there's a sense of safety provided by the fact that there's a vision for where the masculine, for where I'm leading. Yeah.
Well, feeling claimed, essentially, that's then claimed because you're being like, surrender to me and I choose you. So it's that sensation of feeling claimed through a future casting or through a whatever vision that is.
If I think about the archetype of the king provides clarity of where he's going and he creates safety for his kingdom. And I think in the analogy in partnership, a man is a king in his home and in his life and in his relationship. There's a great question here from Julio. Could the fear and resistance of letting the masculine lead come from the masculine not fully embodying his king? And could that create hesitation on the feminine?
Absolutely. Yeah. But for me, the work that I've done is that, and what I lead the women to be in, is that when we're in entitlement, expectation, judgment, we're actually not inspiring a man's devotion anyway. So I feel like that could definitely contribute. But for me, in my experience of surrender, I'm also surrendering to risk in Jay. And Jay is incredibly embodied and also has humanity. So if I was to be like, you have to be perfectly embodied with no risk, completely your king, then I'm controlling you. So there's definitely a truth of the feminine safety that goes, are you faithful to this woman? Are you being truthful? Is your vision authentic to what you can see? And that's a felt sense in the body that regardless, no woman will truly, fully surrender unless authenticity is completely clear. But also, the work that I teach is that we are also surrendering into the humanity of a man, not just what feels really right. It's like when Jay is in an experience where maybe he's off center, my work is how can I still be in my center? How I can't rely on him to be my safety. So it's both for sure. But I wouldn't provide that feedback because I feel like a woman that's choosing this journey there's just humanity in both sides. But the easy truth, yes. And if there's always going to be humanity existing, is the pressure for a man to fully embody his king. Like, what does that mean?
I experience this in conversation sometimes with partners of men who are doing this work. And I hear their feedback that says, yes, I'm now stepping into my feminine because he is stepping up and he is doing these things. So now I'm waiting for him. And now that I've assessed that he's meeting my expectations, I'm now going to step into my feminine. What's your take on that?
That was definitely my experience for many years. many years tick. I was in that.
You've met my requirements, tick. Now
I want a dominant man to take me to the dinner, but not a dominant man anywhere else. Like so much like I want this, but not this, like creating through this fantasy. And that's control. It's control. And I've absolutely been there. And there's so much of me that empathizes and still is in moments, 100% in trying to control, in trying to resist, in the fear. And that's my humanity. That's my parts. That's like, I'm not always going to be this divinity, graceful, like sensual queen. I've got the primal body and the messy moments that clean up as we go.
Yeah, I hear that. There's scenarios that I hear from men when they talk about embodying their eros and their leadership in their relationship. And I advocate for men creating experiences and creating those mysterious and unknown experiences where a woman can just surrender, not have any idea where they're going next on a date, but have a man have great clarity about where he's going. So a man's asked a question.
Yeah.
A lady wants to take me out for a surprise weekend, means I'm giving her control. Is that okay?
Yeah. It's okay.
Do
If you want to.
whatever you want.
Yes.
What impact does that have, do you see, on polarity? What's your perspective on that?
I personally feel as the feminine, okay, me now. It is depolarizing, of course, in a way where there's a provision, a direction, the inner vision, the experience, the mystery is all provided by the woman. But it just depends on the partnership. And I do believe if you want a completely polarized relationship, then that's going to be something that has a woman be able to hold on to some control in a space that she feels safe to provide that. So there's so many nuances to it in my opinion and my experience. And there's also the nuance that if this beautiful man provides 90%, that maybe it will actually polarize more because he's actually receiving for a weekend and able to fill his cup up, you know? So I feel like the nuances of it are the particular part. Like,
my perspective on this is it depends on the energy that it's done in, and also depends on the frequency. If I was in a relationship where I had a partner who was consistently choosing, leading, determining where we went, what we ate, expressing preference in a way of saying no, creating boundary, and then organizing. And I've been in my past relationships exactly in that way. And I found over time the polarity inverted, and then eventually attraction went down and ability to be in the masculine feminine pole was eliminated, and our relationship broke down. So I think it's important to be able to receive as the masculine. And I think it's also important to be able to understand the energy that's present. Understand that if a woman wants to continue to surprise you and continue to take you on surprise dates and continue to be in planning, that is actually control. What do you see for a man is the most effective ways to respond if they believe or experience their partner in control? What are the things you could say to a man to support him, to support a woman out of being in control and into a man returning to leadership?
So if I feel, for example, if I put myself in a perspective of me in a relationship with you, and if I feel a sense of it feels really horrible for me. So we love being led out of it. We do not like it. We cannot stand it. As much as there's an experience where some women perceivably by the masculine love it, no woman, it feels so toxic. It feels horrible to be in control. So receiving your provision and your support out of that space is the most loving thing, because there's insecurity that's existing. There's fear, there's confusion. And so to be let out of that is just to be in the acknowledgement and the validation. Like, tell me what you're feeling. And if there's fear there, like, what are you afraid of? I'm right here. And just that reassurance, because when a woman is in that control, she's in fight or flight. She's feeling like literally, and if it's not actually validated and loved and seen and hugged, it becomes a shadow. So it kind of becomes a greater power, because she's feeling so much shame in that. There's so much shame. There's so much fear, because the patriarchy or the experience that women have had is that it's wrong to feel insecure, whereas a woman's tenderness is absolutely included with moments of insecurity. So yeah, providing a space where we're acknowledged and just seen as beautiful in that. It is so healing to experience a man and say, you're beautiful, even when you're feeling insecure or you're in fear. And that can quantum shift quickly.
Yeah, wow. That's a big distinction, that control is ultimately an expression of fear.
Yeah.
And that loving a woman in her expression of that control is actually going to alleviate the need for it in the first place. I'd love to get your feedback, men, here in the Zoom and also on the live. What's resonating for you around these themes of control? Where have you seen this in your previous relationships? How have you dealt with it, possibly well or not well? What are your experiences, men? Let's get some feedback. Okay, while we're waiting for the brothers to jump in here with some comments, let's have a look at some other themes that are coming through in the questions.
May I share and just like translate a little bit of an experience of control, what I'm feeling?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. If I'm in control, my body, and this is resonant to women, is I'm so afraid that I'm going to get hurt, that something's going to happen and I'm going to be abandoned, or I'm trying to find safety and security in any way that I can to know that I'm not going to get hurt, that I'm not going to be cheated on, that I'm not going to be just left, that I am pretty enough, that I am worthy, that I'm scared that I'm going to be dropped. And I'm scared that if I don't control that, I'm so afraid that I'm not enough in this fear. So I'm hiding it, and I'm going to hide it by trying to control. I'm going to hide the vulnerability. I'm going to hide the tenderness. I'm going to hide the shame. I'm going to hide the insecurity by controlling you, so that I don't have to feel it. And so that you don't see me in that, because then I'm weak.
Wow. Wow. That was amazing. Men, love your thoughts. Share. What did you feel? What did you see in that for yourself? What are you feeling when you hear that? For me, that just creates an amazing amount of empathy. That even this in the experience of resisting control, I feel that in the past I've been very aggressive or very forceful. Don't control me. But if I had known, if I had understood deeply what the feminine was experiencing, the deep pain that was there, I would have been very different. And if I had the tools to be able to lead partner into her feelings, to be able to discover what was underneath, I would have had a lot of compassion, and I would have seen it as something that was hurt rather than something that was trying to exert control or manipulation. Yeah. Who's resonating with that? Men, let's get some reactions in the Zooms. I'd love some thumbs up, some interaction. So Corey's saying here, is resonating with the part relating to compassion. I tell my woman I've got her no matter what. And she's going through something, instead of trying to provide solutions, which is what I want to go to as a man, it immediately relieves a lot of her fear about whatever she was experiencing. Boom. Yeah, absolutely love that. Julio, makes sense. Seeing control as a fear other than something annoying definitely helps with empathy. And men, this relates to not just our romantic partnerships, but our sisters, our mothers, our loved ones, our business colleagues. If a feminine is trying to express control, what I think Emma is sharing here is it's coming from that place of fear.
It's so like, now, because of where I'm able to be, at times I still experience, it's definitely shifted for me. It's the truth. I've shifted a lot. But now when I'm experiencing that, it feels so toxic to me to experience a sense of control, because I don't desire to be the woman that experiences that. Just feels so not me in surrender. I love surrender. But now I would really have been so supported prior if a man knew that that would lead me to ask for help. Like when I say to you, like, may I have help? Like, I'm so lost right now in how to actually be provided for, because we don't know in that state. We're just so scared that it's like, you could say and shame it, but we just need help. We need help to be led out of that, to be reassured, to be loved, to be feeling the devotion, and to know that we're not trying to hurt, we're hurting. It is so, and of course, I've definitely had to heal a lot of forgiveness and asked for forgiveness from the masculine because of what I know that has a masculine feel. So it's both parts. And I want to make sure that we all know that I deeply empathize with the masculine and men around this deeply, 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 deeply. But I guess this is just the perspective of what a woman or a man at times, when he's experiencing that in his feminine, is possibly experiencing.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
What's resonating, men? Love your feedback. What's landing for you in your current relationships, in the past? What have you seen? Where have you been controlled or misunderstood control? How have you responded? And Dave Jordan, I'm hearing that a man that does not get triggered easily by a woman's emotion is very valuable to the feminine. Is that right?
Yeah, like so valuable. Like we're triggered by our own emotion enough. It is so good because it's for us in our full spectrum of wild, and not projected wild, but felt wild. We we can really feel that and feel the safety that that it's okay, and it's connected to our also ecstatic bliss and our pleasure and our muse, and like everything that we have in here is connected to our ability to feel safe to expose it all. So when a man gets triggered by a woman's emotion, then what it says is your body needs to be shut down near me, and in your body is possibly everything I want. But in that, there's also the nuance of how a woman is actually projecting that emotion with a man. And I, like Jay, when I'm in an experience and have been in experiences where it's like there's a lot of emotion and he's boundaried me, which I've needed. I haven't needed him to hold space or stay there, because it's had me fall to my knees and be like, may I have help? So there's the nuances, but absolutely, it's so valuable because in that chaos, we don't even know what's up or down.
And I think it's a really,
Please help.
I think it's a really good segue into, the next area of discussion and exploration. What I experienced in previous relationships were the feminine chaos was unsafe. I'd love to know if you men resonate with that. Feminine chaos was emotive, it was explosive, it was projected, there was hate, there was vile things that were said. And for me, any expression of emotion from the feminine was like, fuck that, I'm out. What I learned recently was that was my own failing to set boundary with the feminine. My experience of being wounded and therefore triggered and therefore unable to hold space for the emotion was because I didn't create space from the behavior. I allowed the behavior, and then I was deeply wounded by it. What I've learned since is that my boundary delivered with love and compassion is actually a gift. That's saying you're in judgment or you're in leadership right now and don't do that. Tell me what you're feeling. Delivered with compassion and with grace allows Emma to see that there's something happening here, that it's not okay with me to speak to me in a certain way or to lead me. And I have compassion and I want to know what's going on for you. So tell me what you're feeling. And for me, that was the difference between making myself a pincushion for attack and putting myself up as a fucking dartboard and getting nailed by the feminine versus, hey, it's not okay. Love you. Tell me what's going on for you. And that created space enough for me to be grounded. If I don't boundary, I can't be grounded because I'm taking the hits and I'm standing there and I'm copping the bullets and I'm talking in the past. This is not how we operate. But I can't be grounded. I was a fucking dartboard. So that's what I've learned for myself, man, is that I needed to create that boundary first.
May I share something on boundaries?
Yeah, absolutely.
So boundaries have us feel so safe. like solid boundaries for yourself, or like just boundaries in a masculine or a male's body, has us know that when a woman is tempting you, you can say no. When there's providership needed, you're going to be there. When we have a baby, you're not going to leave. Like the sense of, or also if you, a greatest fear of that I've experienced has been a man, like my greatest fear is deception and truth. And that if I can't feel that a man would leave me if he's no longer wanting me, that's like my greatest fear. Surrendering into a man that's just like pretending or not fully following his truth. And so those boundaries have a woman realize that she's safe to trust when a man says, like, I'm here with you and I want you. She's like, of course, that's the truth, because you're boundaried and you're here and you're in your power. And I can trust when you say you love me. And I can trust when you say, I want to lead you, and this inner vision you have, I feel it pulsating through my body that it's like, of course, this is the truth, because boundaries exist. So boundaries translated with the feminine is truth.
What I've also heard you say before.
And it's very triggering at times.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What I've also heard you say before is boundaries equal safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
A boundary is a gift. And this is what I'm learning, that there's a key here for me, which I've missed and misunderstood in the past, which is a boundary needs to be delivered with compassion. And on the recent 3-day spear, I talk about what the work is that I've learned from Mark Benet and Zach Rode is needs to be delivered with the heart and the spine and the cock. So what that means is the spine represents the firmness and the backbone. The heart represents the compassion, and the cock is that there needs to be desire online. And there needs to be presence of my in balls and have like my power and my essence and my potency. And all of that needs to be present for me to be able to say, hey, no, it's not okay. Don't do that. I love you. Tell me what's going on for you. It's all of that energy in together that then delivers a really clean and powerful boundary.
Yeah.
Is that your experience? Yeah. Dumb question. Yes.
I feel like on the feminine perspective, my desire is to have no boundaries with Jay. Is that as the feminine, we desire to be able to fully let go to the trust of where he wants to take me and know that he has got me, that I don't need to boundary anything because the provision of his leadership has got me. So it's so interesting. It's like, if I have boundaries up, it feels like I need to protect myself from him as the feminine.
This was a big one.
From the feminine.
This was a big one for me, men. And I mean, I'd love a show of hands who's been in conscious relationships where we talk about boundaries, that their partners go, boundaries, that's a boundary.
Standard value.
Yeah, that's my boundary. Don't cross my boundary. Yeah.
Yeah.
I experienced that and said, oh, that's really responsible. I really appreciate you telling me what your boundaries are. What is actually happening is that there's a lack of trust, and there's actually going on is there's a covert leadership that says, I don't really trust you, so I'm going to have to protect myself. I don't really want you to lead me, so I'm going to put all these walls around me. And ultimately what I realized is if your partner is boundarying all over the place, it's cool. You're building walls. You stay inside that castle over there because I'm building one over here. And for me, that was a big distinction. And realizing Emma was trusting and receiving enough to say, hey, let's go where you want to take us. And it took a lot of work and a lot of trust for us to get to that place.
Yeah, and I feel like just on that, masculines, this is what I perceive through what I've witnessed in you and this work, is like a masculine man desires to lead provision into the mystery for a woman. And a woman's desire is to be able to live in the mystery with a man's leadership. And so my experience is that it's not easy. Like it is so, and that's judgment. But my experience is there's so much fear there because I know that I'm also surrendering into Jay's shadows or Jay's humanity, Jay's moments where he's not going to be perfect. But will I choose this anyway? Choose that this journey is also a journey of risk for the feminine, and that I can't have both. I can't have the journey of really trusting this man with everything I have and giving him a sense of him being able to lead that from my body of where I'm ready for, and also say, but this is my standard. This is the food I eat. This is this is what time you got to be home. Like this is, because no, I want to trust that I can live in the mystery and that you are this vessel that is tangibly bringing me into that space. But the trust, that's the nuance of trust that's needed there to actually experience a woman fully in that devour. This is very feminine communication. I'm so sorry if you guys don't understand. But like the devour, we get devour, yeah? It's like yum. Yeah, the devour. We understand that. That is with the subtleties of trust that a woman is desiring to live in that mystery, which you are the tangible container of it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'd love to share some comments here from the brothers. Darren, I find by showing my woman how she's subtly attempting to control, given her fear responses and need for safety and after reassurance, she is still in resistance and doesn't see it. I.e., the need to know everything that goes on, including in this masterclass. How can I lead her through that, set a boundary, and help her out of that pattern? Awesome question. And I just want to honor your vulnerability, brother, in sharing that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's explore that. That seems like a really good one. So
for me, if I was in that experience and with how we can lead her through that is saying, what are you feeling? Like, what is actually alive for you? And being so boundaried in that experience that that's all it's about. Because what it is only about is a sense of fear that's coming up, that she may lose you because you may see that you desire something else, or she may fear that what you see in the feminine here is something that you may judge that she's not, or there would be an experience of a woman that's trying to control certain circumstances because she's fearing that you're going to see something that she doesn't have and you'll leave her. So it's being so solid in the, what are you feeling? There's a feeling here. And what are you experiencing? And I've got you. And I'm here. What is that thing? What is it there? And just only making it about that, because the other experiences and the reassurance that can come from what are you feeling? Like when Jay receives provides me with that provision, I'm like, oh, thank gosh, I'm out of my head. Like I'm fear, anxiousness, anxiety.
Something I want to add here is that I'm not available for entertaining the he said, she said, what happens. And there's often a logic and an argument and a debate that comes in when we enter into the discussion. So for me, it's been about very clearly, that's not okay. Tell me what you're feeling. And anything else that comes through is, I hear you and you're still leading. Tell me what you're feeling. And it's very firm but compassionate that I'm going to pursue this conversation toward what you're experiencing and what you're feeling to the exclusion of anything else. There is no merit that can come in debating the he said, she said, what's going on, because then she's in the mind and so are you. And so you're both operating from that control, who's in more control. The other thing that can happen that I've fallen into a trap of is when I provide reassurance, it actually looks like explanation and justification. Oh, it's only going to be this long and it's only going to cover these things. And I start to explain myself.
Yeah.
And I go beyond leadership. I go into submission because I'm now justifying. So if I'm firm in the fact that all I'm available for right now is, this is what my determination is, you're leading. Babe, you're leading. Don't do that. Tell me what you're feeling.
Yeah.
And that's all that I'm here for right now. That's all we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about what's coming up for you. Tell me what you're feeling. And what I've understood is that there's no benefit in going into detailed discussion when a woman is in a state of feeling unsafe, feeling elevated, feeling dysregulated. It doesn't help. And yeah, I don't know. It's just, I'm just learning it for myself as I'm sharing it. I'm like, fuck, hold on. I'm realizing this actually for myself. I get into the debate. I was trained as a lawyer. So I'm like, wow, no, I didn't say that. You didn't say that. This is my message. And that's no good can come.
And may I share something? It's that us as women, how, as much as there is a surrender to our men and the provision of the security you will provide for us in that, there is a sense where a part of me has to do my own work to be in the fact that there is a fear. There is a truth that Jade may leave me in every experience or anything I'm fearing. And that's my work too, to actually sit in that fear, to be okay with the uncertainty, to be provided as much as Jay feels true in like the boundary and that I've got you and I'm here. But then it does go into a sense of feeling unsafe if Jay doesn't do this and that's not our dynamic. But if you were like, no, I'm not going to go because then that's not true. Then we go into the this isn't true because you don't really know that. Then you're providing me a sense of safety and security that we can feel in your body is not fully true through all your three parts. So whatever's true in those three parts is the safest way for us as women, the feminine. If we get that and there's a boundary and there's a solid no and all those three parts are like whatever this is no, that's safer than receiving 100% security in you'll never leave us. And because then I'm like, what?
Yeah.
You might.
Yeah. And also what I find is if I acquiesce to a dysregulated expression, what I'm actually doing is reinforcing that that's something that is I'm available for. And over time, as I've consistently boundaried behavior that I'm not available for, it creates so much certainty and so much safety. And yeah, that's part of my self-worth as a man. I need to do my inner work to know that I'm worthy of being spoken to in a certain way. And Emma's,
I love it. It turns me on. I'm like, yum. Like it's scary, so scared by fear as a judgment. There's so much fear because it's the mystery, it's the darkness. It's like, I love the women crave to see the edge of a man that he could decide to kill or love. That's safety. And it's the core of safety, not the safety that a lot of women may know that is safe, but it is. It's that sense of boundary and power in a man that's like, I could kill you right now, but I'm going to choose to just love you and have you in the mystery of a yummy, luxurious dinner. And it's like, oh no, kill me more. You know, like that experience, it provides such depth, but it's that depth and that darkness is so safe through all of you and us.
Yeah, amazing. Holy moly, we're doing really well. We've got so much interesting comments and questions. Resonates with me, says Rod, as I see how my shutting my ex down when she controlled our lives depolarized us and left her stuck in her childhood wound. Yes. Having her supported and felt understood in her desire for control may have alleviated that sense of needing to control. Yeah, absolutely. Compassion is key to communication. I think that's a great point from Stuart, that compassion in the communication, having your heart online. Absolutely. Slade asks, if a man has set a boundary, is he creating walls around him?
He's putting a wall around her. Yeah, the feminine through my body, if I may share, is that you're putting your arms around me. You're putting it around you and me, because I know that there's a safety that I can fully let go when I'm in a container. Boundaries feel like solidarity, and solidarity feels like my surrender can fully happen. And boundaries also translate to outside the relationship and a trust that these things won't, like, I'm safe. But even if you're boundarying yourself in my presence, I feel that you're actually putting a container around me, because then I'm safe to be feminine or be in my core, I more would like to say. Does that help?
That's a Slade question. Another great Slade question here, and it's directed to me. Does it ever feel draining continually leading, and how does it fulfill you? It was an expansion for me, and I needed to meet that expansion to be in consistent leadership. But what has me feel so enriched is Emma's receiving of my leadership. If I'm not met in my leadership, it is exhausting. Yes. And this is where we as men need to be in our self-worth, that if I'm leading and the leadership is not received, and I'm continuing to hold space for the feelings that are being experienced by my partner, if Emma wasn't in receiving, ultimately I need to make a decision to either hold the space and continue to be patient, or to withdraw my devotion, to withdraw my leadership. And that is a necessary part of our own self-preservation as men, is that in partnership, and the feminine has their experience of the same. What's your experience in submission and flowing away?
Yeah, if there's, for me, that transition has been very big, shifting from boundary to flowing, to be able to, yeah, that's been big. But my experience of self-worth in that is that if a man isn't able to, and this even comes through as boundary, but it's this experience that if I am not honored and have received devotion and receive honesty and receive safety, then I'm not going to submit. And it's not a space of boundary, it's a space of flowing away. It's because my devour is very real of what I love in this. Even though I'm submitting and I am surrendering, there's a lot in the cauldron that I want to drink up, right? It's like I'm not just becoming nothing, I'm becoming everything. So it's the safety. If the safety is provided and the sense of you have your boundary and you are trustworthy, then I'm in my self-worth and fully here. But if that wasn't something that was provided over time, it would be essentially be a flow away. It's got to be safe, right? Like I'm not creating safety for myself if I submit into something that's not safe. Yeah, and the deeper you take me, the deeper I have to catch myself over and over.
and there are moments when I'm off center. Yeah. You know, I'm human. And in those moments, Emma has shared, you know, her feeling and her observation that she's not feeling, you know, cherished. And in that moment, she shares that she's going to exit the situation. She's going to exit the conversation. And that's her being in her self-worth. And as soon as she does that, for me, it's like, oh, fuck. Okay, I'm being a dick, and it's me, and I clean it up and I lean in. When I experience Emma in combat or in conflict with that, my masculine activation comes online, and I, you know, off center, and there's that combat when I'm in the argument. Whereas when Emma exercises that skill of flowing away, it's like, oh, I can't fight with a person who's in feminine. I can't fight with with someone who's in their softness and in their feminine heart. And in the same way, a woman can't fight with a man who's clearly boundaried. A woman can't fight with a man who won't engage in. And also,
women don't want to fight. Even the women that are fighting, there's a longing to not have to fight. There's a reason she's fighting. She's fought before. She's had to fight, literally. And so it's, and men don't desire the combat. So it's like, how can we both go, you know what? I don't want to fight you. You don't want to fight me. Let's dissolve this.
Well, that's a beautiful segue, because the second chapter heading, I know we've gone into some areas that probably have covered across it already, but it's in this
facilitating with
with the feminine. I'm holding a container of water right now, and it's just like flowing around. It's like, I'm gonna hold this thing. We're gonna get out of here in 30 minutes. So the steps that we've already touched on, and that I delivered in a masterclass 2 weeks ago, that support in a man leading a woman out of conflict. What are those steps for you that have been most important, and tangibly, what can a man do to lead his woman out of conflict?
I'm in conflict, I'm not feeling safe. If I'm in combat, I'm feeling unsafe. That's it. Like there's only one blanket. If I'm aggressive, I'm scared. If I'm angry, I'm scared. If I'm resisting, I'm scared. If I'm yelling, I'm scared. And so there's an acknowledgement for me that when you get me just to acknowledge my feelings and you're boundaried in that, where you take me out of my mind, because the story of like, this has happened, this has happened, this has happened, this is why, it's like they're valid, and receiving you saying like, this is all valid. I see you. I love you.
Mhm.
If there's like a combative, you want to be that, right? This is only a willful choice of if there's an experience that you desire to hold space for this woman. It's like, I see you. I see this. I can, your experience is valid, but you're in judgment, and I'm here. What are you feeling? And that's it. And if a woman is still resisting sharing that, just again, and what are you feeling? And again, what are you feeling? And eventually that's her surrender, is sharing her feelings, saying, I'm aggravated. No, you're not. You're in judgment. What are you feeling? I'm scared. A little bit of judgment. What are you feeling? Fear. Beautiful. What are you fearing? So the experience of being led through the emotional body takes us out of the story around all the things that we're saying is the reason that you've done X, Y, Z. And regardless, some moments where Jay's provided that for me, it's sometimes it's really quick. And then sometimes he's got to again be like, and meet his own edges to be like, what are you feeling? But every single time, it's the thing. It dissipates everything. We were at dinner the other night and I was experiencing a sense of insecurity, and he noticed and he said to me, what are you feeling? And I noticed that this was in my mind for just about 10 minutes. I was feeling the contraction. I wasn't able to be present. I was feeling fear. As soon as Jay shared and said to me, what are you feeling? And we brought it into the space, it was instantly dissipated. And we had the most incredible night. So that leadership for me is so supportive, when I could just get out of my head, out of the story, into the what am I feeling, and then being led through that and acknowledged and validated, and also have the space to be held in my feelings. And this to me feels like it's been a journey, and I'm deepening in the trust of it. It wasn't seamless at the start. It was like, I'm aggravated, like there was still fire, even in the emotion. Yeah.
Judgment.
Whereas now it's like, I surrender any want to fight. I'm like, oh my gosh, may I please have help? I'm stuck in this. But there is a journey. But yeah, leading through the feelings and then even leading beyond them with reassurance. So feelings, if when you provide me to expose my feelings, but then you catch me with reassurance, if I'm like, I'm experiencing fear. Why are you experiencing fear? Because I'm afraid that this may happen, or I'm experiencing fear because this is what my story is. And then when you catch me in reassurance, in the truth of whatever that is, straight away I'm like, oh, don't need to fight. Because I think as men and women, when we're in a space of combat, we're living in a past experience. We're not even present to what's real. So when we're led as the feminine out of an experience of thinking that you are that man, or you are that moment, or you are going to do this, it reassures us that actually this isn't what's happening. And my feelings are also welcome, because we as women, we feel, we're so sensitive. The attunement to feelings is insecurity, fear, all of those things is tangibly in the cells of our skin, and every single thing is like, as it heightens it. Yeah. So to have that acknowledged.
So tangibly, men, steps that I've shared before in the round, I'm going to translate into tangible and summarize the flow.
Okay, thank you.
Tangibly,
you're amazing.
Providing a determination, or what's called a judgment. And this is from Mark Benet and Zach Rhodes' teaching. So if you're interested in diving in, this is acknowledging that this is their work. The first line, I suppose, in their process and their script is providing a determination of what the behavior is, which in their language, they use the word judgment. So, babe, you're leading me. Don't lead me. So that's a directive saying that's not okay. Don't lead. tell me what you're feeling, which is also a direction. And it's really important to use that language. Tell me what you're feeling. It's a direction. That is going to polarize the receiver of that instruction into a position of responding to that instruction. It's going to put us back into polarity. And with compassion, with empathy, tell me what you're feeling. Okay, your feeling's welcome. I hear you. And what are you fearing? What story are you telling yourself? The other useful question or direction that I've used and Emma didn't mention is tell me what you need. Tell me what you need is such a powerful phrase.
And she won't always know, trust me.
And that's what we experience as well, is that if there's an uncertainty,
Yeah.
it's
May I have help?
that's a beautiful thing for a woman to be able to do, is ask for help. If you are experiencing a resistance in your partner in taking this leadership on, provide her with the communication tools that you would like her to use. So, babe, when you're in an experience and you're feeling triggered, ask for my help, because there is nothing that turns a man's trigger off more quickly is, may I please have some help? May I have some help? And if you give that tool to your partner, she then knows that she can support the process, because we need both parts. If it's just the man doing the work, it's not going to work.
That's not
If it's just the man doing the work, it's not going to work. Morris is doing these ones. He's like, yeah, absolutely. You need to be met. But what I also experienced was this sense of victimhood. Oh, she has to do her 50-50. She needs to meet me in the middle. What I've learned is to give
it's like
that.
a man being like, he is just like the full judgment and entitlement of being led.
Yeah, the masculine needs to be in the leadership role in this dynamic. If you choose this way of doing things, a man needs to be responsible. So that's a method we've used for ourselves in resolving conflict, and it's really, really powerful. Definitely recommend looking up Mark Benet and Zach Rhodes' work. They have a lot of videos on YouTube that will teach this method. So that's the method, the steps process that we promised we were delivering here. Yeah. Yeah. So Brent's asking, can the reassurance piece inadvertently lead to the masculine trying to fix? How does the masculine avoid this but still provide reassurance? Great question.
Love this one. So as in my feminine body, like I don't have many, I have solutions, but in the part of me that Jay is leading me to be, I love it when he supplies solution to a lot. I've got them, like, sure, I've got, like, there's a strong woman there that has any solution to any problem. But when I'm in surrender and in submission with Jay, we love solution. But the difference is that I want to share is that when a woman's in her emotional body, a solution based around like, all right, baby, are you sad because you need a shower? I'm going to give you a shower and wash your hair. That's like, or like, all right, solution. You're feeling angry. I'm going to put you in a bucket of ice, like solution that, not based around the vulnerability and compassion of the emotional body. So when we're experiencing you lead us as solution into the emotion, it's actually validating us and taking us deeper inside. But if there's a solution that's like, if I sat there in grief and exposed grief to Jay, and then he was like, in the middle of my grief was like, you look a bit cold, come outside. Come inside so I can get you warm, right? That solution of that's actually going to gaslight me out of the experience of exposing and feel very tender. So those two solutions, and I feel, women love solution, but solution that's going to support her to feel validated internally. Does that make sense? Is that distinction? Yeah. So, but this, and both solution, all of them, yum, amazing. But the time is important, and when they're facilitated.
Yeah. For me, the key distinction is leading her into her feeling. Yeah. And then from that place of having welcomed the experience of her emotion, allowed space for it, and then provided that reassurance, it's then to tell me what you need. and delivered from that place, tell me what you need. It's, I just need a hug, or I really appreciate some help with this.
Oh, and like when Jay shares with me, right, an example, I could spend a whole day in overwhelm out of my baby needing something that is actually a quite simple solution to be fixed. And Jay really has brought this essence around his provision as play. He's like, babe, we got this. Like, you're feeling all of this, but actually what we just need is a baby chair, you know? And it's actually supported me to gain trust in the masculine and his provision to go, okay, so not everything is like the world is not ending. So that play in the leadership has been so amazing, because I share it with the feminine, like yum, like it highlights to me where I make something so big, and it's provided this provision for me to go, oh, there actually may be something simple here. And so the provision and solution from a place of play is yum. Like, okay, I get it. Whatever's going over there is a really big, catastrophic, huge thing, but you just need some sunscreen on because you're burnt. You know, us women, we really sometimes can get into this other world of bigness. And we just, yeah.
I was experiencing, it's so hilarious.
We just need
Emma was just in this experience of like, it's all so much, and it's, oh my God, Willow's all over the place. And oh my God, it's just in chaos. There's food everywhere. It's like, babe, we just need a fucking high chair.
I was like, oh,
it's good. Let's just, yep.
It changed everything too. We got a baby chair, and I was just like, oh my God, this provision is so good. So like solution, it really supports us to be in that, like, oh, it's like, babe, you need a different brush. You've been brushing your hair with that one and it's taken out your hair. Like, we're like, oh my God, thank you. Like, that is the yum in this stuff, in this leadership.
And delivered with compassion.
Yeah.
Obviously. And the discernment for me to know that when is the good time for play and when is the good time to hold, and what's being experienced on the other side. But I've just got the warning here from Brett that we got 15 minutes to go. How fucking quick was that? I want to open up the space, man. We don't want to leave. What actually, I'd love just a question. Who here would appreciate this as a series for us to dive into these individual topics, for us to explore this a little further? Who here? Yes, we got from Brett, Way, Joel, Brent, Morris. Brent. Okay, cool. All right, cool. So I'm feeling a little bit of like, I'm gonna meet my promises here. Keep them coming, says Brett. Right. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna open up to you men. You've done a fantastic job of asking questions throughout, but I want to create a space in anything that we introduced, in anything that you may not have had answered, anything that's on your mind. Let's throw some questions in here. We're going to take a few minutes of just open Q&A. So let's go for it. Always wanted to know, never actually got a chance to ask a woman, and you're really just dying. What the fuck? What the fuck is up with this about women? I don't get it. It's like, fuck. I
anything.
Just go. Leonidas, good to have you with us. Hell yeah. Men, anything at all in the areas of connection, sexuality, romance, conflict. What is up with women and they're taking 45? No, I'm just kidding. I love. Emma gets ready so quick.
Masculine men take care of their appearance.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, good. All right, we're keeping the space open for any more questions. All right, so there was a couple more questions from the form. How much should a man show emotions to their woman in relationships, and when is it too much? Now I'm going to boundary this part of the conversation as 5 minutes. If it needs any more explanation than that, we'll take it offline. So how much emotion is too much?
Parts of me that answer this. There's a part of me that is feminine, humanity, compassionate, human, that meets human, that says, if I'm in partnership with you and we spend the rest of our lives together, you may have a season that you may have more emotion going on. And that to me means more than me worrying about me not being polarized, because that humanity is so important as humans, that we all have hard times, right? And I know that men have had so much pressure to hold and be that space. But from a polarized point, it does create a sense of, at times, it depolarizes. A woman will move into providing the space. She will protect. She will hold. She will go into an experience that she's taking care of you, and it sometimes then can turn into the mother. And I've definitely experienced this myself. I attracted a lot of men. As long as they needed me, I felt safe with them, because it meant that I could have some sense of control, that it was like, especially financially, I attracted a lot of men that I provided for. Yeah. And so in this sense of like being like, some women will attract men that, or if you overtly feel, it could be because you or a man may desire the experience of his mother holding him for once, and a woman may desire to actually gain control and feel safer with you being in your emotion. But as a question of like, what's too much, I don't feel authentically that I can answer that, because there's seasons, but it does depolarize, and it just depends what you desire in that week. If there is an experience that a man's in his emotions a lot, but he's actually wanting a woman to be in her ecstatic pleasure, orgasmic bliss of surrender, submission, right? It's like, they don't coexist. But as a woman, if Jay was in his emotional body a lot, my truth is that I would flow away if it was for a long extent of time and there was this codependency based around me facilitating his emotion, because it would depolarize me into being a protector, provider. And I know that part of me, and I'm really good at it. But yeah, it would depolarize me. But I don't know about how long.
My experience on the other side is I was in that situation. I had a partner and I was starting a business at the beginning of Primal. My partner at the time had a lot of experience running a business. She had 20 years experience as an entrepreneur. And what I did was every little micro thing, I would just fall. Oh, I'm just so struggling with this. I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling. And I would just constantly take my problems and then take my struggle and take my emotions. I would only pour it into my partnership. And what I realized is that without a pack, without a tribe, without brothers that I was actually leaning on, my relationship became depolarized, because my partner became the carer and she became the parent and she became the mother. And so for me, I realized that the long-term outcome of that was we would completely depolarize and our relationship ultimately dissolved. So I can see what happens when I don't have the outside support to take my potentially venting, just purging and taking challenges I have in my relationship. If I don't regularly utilize that support network outside of my relationship, I'm bringing all of my problems and I'm dumping them in the lap of my partner. And so for me, I'm so grateful to have all of you brothers in this community and all the men that I can call and speak to. So that's what I would say as support to the man who asked that question. Take your emotional challenges and work with them yourself, work with them outside, and also be vulnerable and authentic. But when I'm sharing from a place of this is what I'm feeling and experiencing right now, and just sharing that as open and vulnerable, and I don't necessarily need anything from you right now, or what I find really powerful is I would really love a hug. I would really love to be held right now. I'm feeling stressed and I would really love you to rub the back of my neck. And Emma's beautiful because she offers that. She sees, hey, you're a bit stressed. Would it support you to give you a rub on the back of your head right now? And whatever it is that I'm looking for specifically, I ask for it. And that's a way for me to know that my emotions are welcome, but I'm not dumping all of them here. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Morris has got a question and he's raised his hand. So I'm going to depart with convention here and bring you off mute, brother, and invite you to ask what it is that you'd like to ask of my beautiful queen or of either of us. Bring yourself off mute, Morris, and ask
First of all, I'd really like to honor both of you for this very brave work that you're doing.
Thank you, brother.
Truly awesome. At first, I was very wary when I first heard about your ideas on this, but now I've really come to see the true value of them. And I'd like some discussion about the sacred aspect of the male-female union. In my experience, I've been on both sides. And for me, the dark masculine is directly tied with the deep destructive forces of the creation of stars itself. And I think that's in our DNA. And I think that's the true expression of the dark masculine. And to be dominated, in my experience, was about erasure of the self or divine union. Is that your experience, Emma?
I call myself Stardust. Yeah, and it is my most core truth for me personally, and there's not a projection that I feel like it's just because I'm a woman, but my core truth is that I'm here to dissolve any part of who I think I need to be, who I came to be, who I think I'm becoming. And yeah, it is this experience of being the cosmic everything.
Yeah.
Like I experience when I'm in the sense of being dominated, I experience ecstatic bliss and grief all at once. I experience like the desire to be held, and then also the cosmic joke of not even like, what are we holding, all at once. So yeah, absolutely. It is the most cosmic, orgasmic, blissful nothingness ever that I constantly then have to, or am invited to land back into this reality every day and see who I am again.
Thank you, Morris. That is an
I love that.
extraordinary question.
Yeah,
brother.
yeah.
Really-
But there's definitely those pieces, lots of them.
yeah, beautiful. Well asked. Thank you, brother. My experience of that is that I'm literally experiencing the essence of creation itself, and that in the deepest desire I have as a man is to be received. And on a primal level, that I am desiring my seed to be received by the feminine. And at a metaphysical level, that is the ultimate expression of creation. And in dominance and submission, Emma is literally giving herself and providing herself to be completely taken. And for me, that is the deepest expression of divine union, is not two independent, strong, willful, just coming into, it's actually infusing into this co-created existence that Emma has entrusted me with leading, and that I feel deeply honored to be able to provide, and that we co-create from that place. And yes, it is a beautifully divine and spiritual practice for both of us.
Yes.
So
it's my ritual.
And I'm so classic Morris to take it to the deepest possible place. I fucking love you, brother. Thank you, man.
I love it because it's the end of the call. I'm like, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And we could spend a whole nother hour and a half talking just on that divine element. So yeah, thank you, brother. Thank you so much. Men, Darren, Lawrence, Daffy, I find it intriguing as to why I've always attracted women that have been sexually abused. I have learned over time certain traits that this type of trauma reveals, so steer clear of it, taking it further than just friends. There has been a couple that have slipped under the radar, but have revealed later down the track. Why do I attract these types of traumas? Wow, that is a big question.
So I think what comes alive, if I may share, would be, is there a part of you that feels safe to be a martyr to a woman that you know that you can provide fixing her? Like she's that, there's that trauma that she may be experiencing that is so deep that maybe there's a safety there that's like, I can provide the space that there may be more safety there for you to have a woman that is maybe disempowered sexually than a woman that maybe is empowered, because it's like a polarized, right? We attract the polarity of what we're experiencing in our trauma. And that's my experience. It's like, for me, I attracted so much trauma and fears based around getting chosen. So what did I attract? Men that were just so open, and even if they said they were choosing me energetically, I could feel so much because it was the polarity to my trauma. The fears of me not being chosen was the polarity of what I was experiencing. So is there a polarity here that is a sense of maybe a part of you may feel more powerful in attracting women that go through these experiences that,
Even if this occurs for you on a subconscious level. So you may not realize it. And it actually goes to the truth of this being unconscious, is that there's an instinct in you, there's an intuition in you that actually has chosen her, even though you don't
Yeah.
consciously know she's got trauma, there's an energetic of her actually craving and desiring your provision, your protection, your saving of her. And that may be something that is unknown to both of you. And that in your experience, you realize later on, wow, she's actually had this deep experience of trauma. There you go. There's my pattern playing out again.
And may I share something, Karen? Maybe there's such a beautiful part of you that if you owned that you love providing safety for women, that part of you is attracting that because you are so solid. And it doesn't mean that you have to necessarily continuously attract it. But I feel there is a potency in the desire for you to protect and be in the provision. And maybe there's a really beautiful opportunity for you to be in that heart and truth of yourself and go, I am such a safe man, and this desire to protect, but maybe it gets to come from a place where you attract women that don't necessarily need it like that. They're actually open to fully experiencing it, but they're not bringing that with it. Does that make sense?
I think what I also take from what you're saying is that there's a shadow, there's an unknown part of you that wants to be in provision. That you want to protect, and that makes sense. I need to protect my mother when she was going through
that wanted to come.
Yeah, that's amazing. So if you own, I think was what Emma is sharing, if you own the desire and if you own that part of yourself and you bring it forward from the shadow into the light and say, this is how I want to operate in relationship, you'll actually attract those who choose it rather than those who subconsciously or in shadow are there by trauma bonding.
And not shame that space inside of you. Actually, it's stunning that you've attracted women like that. It's not necessarily your desired experience, but it's from a part of you that actually has cultivated a level of safety for women, that you attract those that really need a safe man. But if you bring all of it through and be like, I'm ready to actually fully, it's funny, I was going to say devour this, but this is a very feminine expression. Be that and love fully that, the level that you are here to cultivate that, and honor all of it, like you said, around your mother, and just deep love for that experience. And because there could be absolutely, it's like, for example, a man of darkness attracts many women because many women long, and even in the shadow, it's like whatever it is, they're polarized into it. And there could be something you're experiencing where women can feel in you a depth of safety that is rare. And so you may attract a lot in that way because there is that depth to you. So it's being more discerning with what you want to protect.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We are at time. And it feels like there's still so much here to explore. So what I would like to do is we're going to close the live, but we're going to keep the Zoom open. So for those who've been watching on the live broadcast in the Primal Council, thank you so much for joining us. One final word here is this work that we're exploring, that many of the men inside the round table here that you'll see on the Zoom tonight have participated in the 3-day Sharpen the Spear. This is where we explore the dark masculine. This is where we teach this work. So for those men who may not have experienced that 3-day experience, that's where we go deep in this work. That's where we teach this work. That's where we show and we give you an experience of learning what that is and helping you embody that in your relationships and in your life. So if that's something that resonates, it's something that you want to learn more about, I'm going to put a link in the chat. You men can book in to have a chat with me about that event and see if it resonates for you. So I'm going to sign off from the recording, from the live. Thank you so much to everyone who's watched this in the Primal Council. You're absolute legends. Appreciate you. Hope that's been valuable. If you're watching this on a recording, enjoy it. Drop in questions. We'll answer the comments later. But big love to everybody in the Primal Council. So sending off from that space, we're going to close down. Stop. There we go. See you guys. All right. We're going to keep the Zoom open for the brothers in the round table. Hey, guys. We're going to close the recording now.